I don't know what to make of it, but BC is pursuing a plan to end letter grades despite opposition from parents, teachers, students. Does that mean they're moving from letter grades to percentile grades, Drea? Or is it anything goes, no judgment whatsoever? What's going on there?
Well, if you look at the screen there, there's an example that's from MLA John Rusted, leader of the Conservative Party of BC, showing it there. So it's that meeting, not meeting expectation, don't want to trigger the children and let them know that they need work in certain areas. Actually, much of this has already been started to be implemented in different places, different schools in BC, but it's going to be across the board pretty quick here. It's just so, I am so against this. I have 2 kids. It says here in the article that we can put on the screen that more than half of the teachers reported low satisfaction when surveyed, specifically about the so-called new sort of proficiency scale that would replace the letter grades, while 60% of parents or caregivers and 83% of students didn't like the change. So you have the educators, the parents, and the students saying, we don't want this to happen. Yet the Ministry of Education is saying, well, too bad, we're doing it anyways.
So in other words, Drea, this is a woke solution for a problem that does not exist.
Yeah, what's going on here? The Education Minister, Rachna Singh, said last week that about half of all public school districts, like I said, have already tested and adopted the new reporting style, and that the curriculum so that's been since 2016. I've noticed that as a parent in certain classes, or I noticed it more in middle school, to be honest, with my child, that there was no grades for a little bit there. But yeah, it's going to be implemented in September. So British Columbia kids will be able to know. And I think one of the things they want to do is make kids self-assess themselves, which I'm not totally against, as long as they're being properly assessed by an educator.
But Drea, from a tangible perspective, from a logistical viewpoint, how do you know whether your kid is a genius or a flunky if you don't have some sort of benchmark, be it a letter grade, be it a percentile, whatever? If it's just, the kid's doing all right. Well, no, that's not good enough. How do I know whether or not to reward them for getting straight A pluses, or to look at getting tutors to help them keep up with the rest of the class? This is madness.
It is madness. And maybe that's why some of the kids are saying no, because, I usually offer a few bucks. You get an A, you get this, right? It's like, no, it's like getting rid of the tooth fairy or something like that. But, kids need to be able to strive for something. And also, kids that are in sports, you see the same thing happening, at least out here in BC too, where they're trying to say, hey, don't let the kids know who won the game. Don't keep score. My brother's a soccer coach, and for the younger grades, he just tells the kids who won the game. Like, how are kids going to be able to function in the real world if they don't understand that there is success and failure and different measures of that in between, and how to overcome these issues?
You know what, Drea, you're so right. And here's what these idiot educrats don't understand. There is no shame in honest failure. If you try hard, and you gave the analogy of a soccer game, and you lose, well, it's not that we all don't keep score and don't keep standings and everybody gets a participation trophy at the end of the season. No, that's wrong. Basically, what failure should do is make the individual reinvent themselves to succeed, to excel, as opposed to being mollycoddled. Well, there was no score, there was no standings, everyone got a trophy. And you know what? Your friend, the referee, telling the kids what the score is, he doesn't have to do that, Drea. Soccer, to its shame across Canada, does not keep score. It infuriated me when my kids were in soccer when they were very young. But guess what, Drea? Really? The kids on the field, they're all keeping score. They
Yeah,
are all, they
for
are
sure.
all mentally. So the idea that there's no scoreboard with numbers on it means nothing. But this is part of an ongoing problem. 10 years ago, forgive me, I can't remember his name, but I remember the school district. It was Edmonton. It was a teacher who gave a 0 to a student who did not hand in an assignment and
Yeah,
did not show up for an exam. And
that's a 0.
there's nothing to grade. That's a
Yeah.
0. Guess what? To make a long story short, Drea, that teacher was fired.
No.
Yes. He went to court in a lawsuit. I
Really?
believe he was successful. Didn't get his job back, but he got a monetary award. But the Edmonton School Board said, nope, it doesn't matter if they don't show up for an exam. It doesn't matter if the student didn't hand in an essay. You've hurt his self-esteem by giving him a 0. And he said, no, I'm sorry. And this is my kind of teacher. If there's nothing to grade, if there's nothing to read, how can I give any number on that? And they were demanding you give him at least 51% a passing grade. And he said, no, got fired, got some money in the years that followed litigation.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really a race to the bottom. Do you know what?
Yeah.
For some reason, Drea, I don't think the kids in China are being treated this way.
No.
I think the mandarins in Beijing are probably saying, we're going to win this war without even firing a single bullet. I mean, this is unbelievable.
I know. No, definitely. Completely different there in so many ways, including what our kids are watching on social media. So again, I think we're just being reminded over and over and over that parents have to be involved in their child's education. And if that might even be asking to see your child's projects and homework and giving them a grade yourself on what you think at this point, if this is the case, right?
And I want to make one last point, Drea. I filled in for Ezra Levent for a show a few weeks ago, and what caught my eye was a stat, and it was something like, I'm going by memory, 40% of youth aged 18 to 24 in the workplace are suffering from mental breakdowns. And what jumped out at me, first of all, come on, you're 18, 19, 20. Chances are you don't have a mortgage. You probably don't even have a car payment. You're pretty carefree at that age. And I'm thinking, is there something more to this? Is this real mental illness? And by the way, if it is mental illness, these people shouldn't be mocked. They should be helped. Or is it once they've come out of that bizarre biosphere of education and go into the real world, and a boss is demanding, attendance in the office, the boss is demanding performance, do these little violets just crush under that kind of mandate? I think there's a lot to it that is. And ultimately, here's the question, Drea. Do we blame the kids, or do we blame the generations of educrats that came before them and said, we're not going to judge you, we're not going to mark you, we're not going to fail you, even if little Johnny or Janie can't spell cat if you spotted them the C and the T? Is that who's to blame? I think that is who is to blame for creating, a generation or two of people that can't even cope in reality, i.e. the workplace.
Oh, totally agree. And I mean, the kids agree, apparently. I think I just said 80 or something percent are like, no, but it's the next generation that hasn't had any grades, but that won't know the difference.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.